still.
I love your work here.
Excuse me, Mr. Wilson. So we're going to be going to Tyrus Cove on our next meeting. Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Does everybody have your song sheet with the lyrics on it?
I'm going to pretend to be Steve. Find a seat. Well, happy birthday, Steve. Thank you. You have changed.
I'll get the
table for you.
I have got something that's been passed around, and hopefully everybody's got a chance to sign it. Has everybody got a chance? Oh, there's a jumbo card going around. So maybe if we can bring it up here to these ladies, has everyone over here got a chance?
We have.
Oh, and then, if another thing, you all don't
Yeah,
mind,
we did. You
I'd
did.
like to, for anyone that doesn't know about the Soups and Socks event that's going on in this room, not this Friday, but next Friday, the 16th, I just wanted to share just a couple little tidbits about it. So I'm going to be leading worship with Paulette. Does everybody know Paulette?
Uh-huh.
And so, huge honor to be able to sing with her. She's just got a wonderful voice. And so we're going to lead a little worship. We're going to do a little devotion. Several of us from the women's ministry are going to bring a couple pots of soup. And you can see on the event page if you want to bring like a salad or some bread or dessert to go along with it. And then we're also collecting things for the PIN ministry, so like socks and personal care items. PIN ministry is people in need. Does everybody know about that ministry? Okay, so it's a local ministry that helps basically people of all ages. So if you come to the event, just either bring, you know, a pair of brand new socks or any other things. If you want to know
Men or
any,
women or children, it
Oh.
doesn't matter?
I think they're collecting for adults this time.
Okay.
Different events, they collect different things. But if you want another list, if you're like, well, I don't just want to bring socks, I want to bring other things, Debbie King can let you know specifically. You're one of those that likes the whole list.
I was just out with Kim last week about some stuff, but she was telling me they really need men's blue jeans.
Men's blue jeans, okay. So if anybody is going through their closet, getting rid of things. So, I do know, Steve has let me know, there's several ladies in this group that maybe they don't feel comfortable driving at night. And if that happens to be you, there are several, ladies that have volunteered to go around and pick people up. So just in case you're thinking, well, I can't go to Soups and Socks because it's on a Friday night and I don't like to drive. Well, if you'd still like to go and you just want somebody to come pick you up, please either let me know and Steve can get you in touch with me. And then also, Debbie King. Does everybody know Debbie King? Okay, awesome. She can also set up a ride for you. So, show of hands, who thinks they might be there? Oh, awesome! Yes, yes. Another thing I wanted to just share with you all, because I know you all are praying. That night, I'm hoping to kind of do what we did last April with our worship night, and pray about some mentorship relationships between the women that are in like their maybe 60s, 70s, 80s to maybe mentor the younger women. Because I just think everybody has something to share with somebody else, life experience-wise. So if you all could be just praying that the Lord would just bless that. So thank you. I didn't mean to take so much of your time today. But I will just, is anybody else waiting to sign this? Because I can wait around a couple minutes. Oh, this is a big jumbo card that I need to give to Steve tomorrow.
Oh.
So she's gonna get back.
Jane, I've never signed it.
Oh.
So,
Courtney? Courtney?
yes.
The blue jeans, who do you say need?
Oh,
Was it the,
Man.
blue jeans, men's blue jeans.
Men's blue jeans.
Used
Or
or
what
does
were-
not matter?
I think they can be used because they
Yeah,
have those
tennis.
boxes all over town where you just put in little used clothes. I think so. Yeah, yeah. I hope you guys have a good time today.
Oh, okay.
Just-
Here we go.
I'd just like to let everybody know that we're celebrating Steve's birthday next week at the Valentine's thing. So just to let everybody know.
Good to have you back.
Oh,
And
What did you
Marie,
say? Because this group over here was talking.
we're celebrating Steve's birthday next Wednesday also, as well as the Valentine's Day party. His birthday's today. And so we'll celebrate it next week.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Donna.
Welcome back. I'm so glad to be back. I'm sorry I kept missing. I have problems with my eyes, so I mean, we're this pair one day and another pair another day. But anyway. Yes, sir. I can't. Oh, yes. Okay. Are we good? Hello? Testing, testing. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. A sweet grandmother telephoned St. Joseph's Hospital. She timidly asked, "Is it possible to speak to someone who can tell me how a patient is doing?" The operator said, "I'll be glad to help you, dear. What's the name and room number?" The grandmother, in the weak, tremulous voice, said, "Norma Finley, room 302. The operator replied, "Let me place you on hold while I check with the nurse." After a few minutes, the operator returned to the phone. "Oh, good news. Her nurse has told me that Norma is doing very well. Her blood pressure is fine, her blood work just came back as normal, and her physician, Dr. Cohen, has scheduled her to be discharged Tuesday." The grandmother said, "Thank you, that's wonderful. I was so worried. God bless you for this good news. The operator replied, "You're more than welcome. Is Norma your daughter?" The grandmother said, "No, I'm Norma Finley in 302, and they don't tell me a darn thing." This is a little long. You guys will probably like it at the beginning, but your women will like it much better at the end. So here we go. Don't get offended. Okay. It is important for men to remember that as women grow older, it becomes harder for them to maintain the same quality of housekeeping as they did when they were younger. When men notice this, they should try not to yell. Let me relate how I handled the situation. When I got laid off from my counseling job and took an early retirement in March, it became necessary for Nadine to get a full-time job, both for extra income and for health benefits that we need. It was shortly after she started working that I noticed she was beginning to show her age. I usually get home from fishing and hunting about the same time she gets home from work. Although she knows how hungry I am, she almost always says she has to rest for a half an hour or so before she starts supper. I try not to yell. Instead, I tell her to take her time and just wake me when she's finally got the supper on the table. She used to do the dishes as soon as she finished eating. It's now not unusual for them to sit on the table for several hours after her supper. I do what I can to remind her several times each evening that they aren't going to clean themselves. I know she appreciates this, as it does seem to help her get them done before she goes to bed. Now that she is older, she seems to get tired so much more quickly. I wash her and dry her in the basement. Sometimes she says she just can't make another trip down those steps. I don't make a big issue of this. As long as she finishes the laundry the next evening, I'm willing to overlook it. Nadine is starting to complain a little occasionally. For example, she will say that it's difficult for her to find time to pay the monthly bills during her lunch hour. In spite of her complaining, I continue to try to encourage her. I tell her to stretch it out over 2 or even 3 days. That way she won't have to rush so much. I also remind her that missing lunch completely now and then won't hurt it anyway, if you know what I mean. When doing simple jobs, she seems to think she needs more rest periods. She has to take a break when she was only half finished mowing the yard. I try not to embarrass her when she needs this little extra break. I tell her to fix herself a nice big cold glass of freshly squeezed lemonade and just sit for a while. I tell her that as long as she is making one for herself, she might as well make one for me.
Oh, of course.
And take her break by the hammock so she can talk with me until I fall asleep. I know that I probably look like a saint in the way I support Nadine on her daily basis. I'm not saying the ability to show this much consideration is easy. Many men will find it difficult. Some will find it impossible. No one knows better than I do how frustrated women can become as they get older. However, guys, if you just yell at your wife just a little less often because of this article, I will consider the writing worthwhile. Signed, Bob. Bob's funeral was Saturday, April the 25th, and Nadine was acquitted.
Oh, my.
All right, this is real quick, but it's inspirational. A way to explain it. A sick man turned to his doctor as he was preparing to leave the examining room and said, "Doctor, I'm afraid to die. Tell me what lies on the other side." Very quietly, the doctor said, "I don't know." "You don't know? You're a Christian man, and you don't know what's on the other side?" The doctor was holding the handle of the door on the other side. Aside came a sound of scratching and whining, and he opened the door. A dog sprang into the room, leaped on him with an eager show of gladness. Turning to the patient, the doctor said, "Did you notice my dog? He'd never been in this room before. He didn't know what was inside. He knew nothing except that, excuse me, that his master was here. And when the door opened, he sprang in without fear. I know little of what is on the other side of death, but I do know one thing. I know my master is there, and that's enough.
Howdy, everybody. Well, certainly don't need that. Thank you, Karen, by the way. Where's Karen? Oh, thank you. Okay, so that dog one really got me. My puppy's the same way. He's awesome dog. He came from an abusive home, but boy, the first time it's funny that the whole door thing. The door opens for us to be introduced to him. He comes over and just sits down in front of me, puts his head on my lap. And my wife just goes, "Well, we know which one we're getting." So, gosh, we go to bed and he lays next to me and just flops on top of me. And he just doesn't do that with her. Whatever it is, he's your dog. That's funny, the master. Yeah, I like that. So, we're going to be getting into Matthew 5 this week. Stay in Matthew 4 right now. We're going to finish that up. But we're going to be getting into the Sermon on the Mount, Beatitudes, some very big theology. Going into this, you've probably heard it hundreds of times. I know I have. Hundreds of times the Beatitudes have been done. Heard the same old things. When we go into this, just like we did last week, we're talking about disciples and how people are and who people are. I want you to relate this to you. I want you to think about these things. Okay? And I'm going to be asking some questions. Don't be afraid to respond. Okay? The only way that you learn is if you ask a question. If I don't have something to just give, and you haven't asked that question, you have something missing. Okay? If you think that your response to something is dumb, don't. It's not. If you just have an idea of what it is or someone told you, say it. Okay? Don't be afraid. I really want to engage you guys, especially as we get into like Beatitudes, because there's a lot of interpretation or how do you feel about it? What do you think about it? Okay? And I really want you to be thinking about this. So, Ed, could you read Matthew 4, verse 23 through the end?
Jesus went throughout Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness among the people. News about him spread all over Syria, and people brought to him all who were ill with various diseases, those suffering severe pain, the demon-possessed, the epileptics, and the paralytics, and he healed them. Large crowds from Galilee, the Decapolis, Jerusalem, Judea, and the region across the Jordan followed him.
Okay. From that last chunk, what do you know about Jesus?
He was compassionate towards people's illness, I guess.
Compassionate to people's illness. Okay, speak of illness. Why were they doing what they did?
Why was the people doing what they did?
Yeah.
Because they probably heard it. He was going around healing people, I guess.
He was doing what again?
Going around, he was healing people.
Healing?
Yeah.
How?
Laying hands on them, I guess.
Okay, but he lays hands on them, and then how are they healed?
Through the Spirit.
Spirit?
The Spirit goes out.
Miracles.
I think, didn't he, he healed people without touching that, too.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't have to.
Just by being there.
Doesn't have to, right? In fact, his fame spreads much like, I grew up in the 80s, okay? And there were certain individuals who were on TV in the 80s, and they did certain things, okay? Here, these people they're demon-possessed. What else? What other things are they? We got demon possession, paralyzed, they can't move, seizures, yep. Blind, cripple, all sorts of illness. In fact, where it says all who were ill, the Greek can also be translated of those who had all illnesses. So any form of an illness, I got a little cough, I'm going to go see Jesus. Okay? They go to him. Why did they go to him? Because he was healing them. How was he healing them? With a stethoscope and some pills? No. Through miracles. The word miracle, okay, it's not mentioned here, but the word miracle from the Greek comes from working of power. Whose power? God's power. So when we look at doctors doing something, we say it's a miracle he survived. Yeah, it is a miracle he survived. Because you got individuals going in with knives and cutting and things, and they can do the cutting and the injury, but God does the mending. God does the healing. God's power, miracle. He's miraculously healing these people. So when I was a kid, does anyone remember Benny Hinn?
The name's familiar.
You ever heard of him?
The name.
Benny Hinn was a gentleman from the charismatic movement, and he would do these crazy things. Someone would come up on stage and they'd say, I have a whatever it is. And Benny Hinn would say, oh, Jesus, heal you. And they'd fall back and, oh my gosh, and everybody goes, oh, praise the Lord. And he waves his hand this way, and the guy jumps up and down and falls over, and he's shaking on the ground. Oh, look, he's healed. And then the guy in the wheelchair comes, and he says, the Lord heal you. Okay, we're going to go over to this guy over here. Wait a minute. Hold on. You're not going to get that guy out of the chair? Oh, yeah, you'll be healed when you get home. Or, get up out of the chair. Oh, he comes over. Oh, he's healed. Okay, guys, make sure you take care of him. We don't need him on the stage anymore. Let's go over to these people. Why? Because it wasn't
It was fake.
fake. It wasn't real. It wasn't real. Take his coat off. Wave it. Feel the Spirit. Everybody would go, ooh, and ah. All sorts of those guys. I watch them because it's funny. But not only that, we have to understand the enemy. Jesus doesn't get fame because he goes around saying, look what I can do. He gains fame because the people came to him and said, look what he can do. Remember that. When you think of your life, it shouldn't be, look what I did for the church. It should be, look what God did through me for the church. You're a vessel. You're a tool. You are to be used by God. And if you choose not to, then you're just a rusty wrench that he can't open. And he's going to let sit. You're in his toolbox. He can't use you. Remember that. It should always point to God. Jesus doesn't have to say anything. In fact, you're going to see some things later on in Matthew. Jesus says, don't say anything. They made messages about him. That's how people come to Jesus. Because they talk about what he did for them. That's your testimony. That should be everyone in here's testimony. What Christ has done for you. Now this morning, I already went through my tear-filled preaching for myself about this. I'm not going to belabor you with it maybe at some time in the future. Okay, I don't want to be too surly today. But it's all about pointing to what he has done for you, and people see that. People see that. Not, I give my money to the church. I go to church every Sunday. I dress the right clothes. I look the part. I'm a good person. That's an act. Because I can tell you with all truth, I am not a good person. But someone who I care deeply about told me, no, but Jesus makes you good. That's the message. It's all about Jesus. Now, with that idea, go to chapter 5. Can I get someone to read verse 1 through verse 12, the whole Beatitudes there?
Now when Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on a mountainside and sat down. His disciples came to him, and he began to teach them. He said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you."
Okay. Sermon on the Mount. Why does Jesus kind of go up onto something? Why does he do this?
Because there were so many people, he couldn't get the message.
So many people, he's got to get the message out, okay? It's a nice place. He just says, okay, here's a good place to proclaim. Later on, of course, he does it in a boat, different times. He's kind of distancing himself from the people so they can get a better view of him, okay? But at the same time, you have to remember, if Jesus is doing all this healing, he's going to be touching people, they're going to be pressing on him. Jesus is human. He's going to get tired of it. He is loving, caring, and kind, but there's still an extent of his humanity, just like you are. And you will get tired of caring for people. And sometimes you just need to go and chill. That's okay. Jesus does it too. So he goes up on this mountain. He says, okay, we're going to preach from up here. Kind of give me some space. And he starts. That first word there. What does that mean? Blessed, blessed? What does that mean?
I was told one time it means happy.
Happy?
Blessed, happy is the man, yeah, that's what I was
Happy.
told.
What else? What else would that, what do you think it means? What does it mean when you're blessed?
Content.
Content? Special?
Fulfilled.
Gifted?
Fulfilled someone's.
Fulfilled?
Honored.
Honored? These are all correct.
Wow.
The Greek word there that's used for blessed, makarios, the root there is mak. Do you know what that word means? To be made large. Not this large. To be made large. In honor. This is specifically from God bestowing upon you, making you large. Not big-headed, but inside. Making you honored, happy, fulfilled, gifted. You are filled with Him and you're blessed. Now, thinking of that, blessed are the poor in spirit. What is poor in spirit? Downtrodden. Why?
When you're poor in spirit, you just, I think, poor in spirit, you just low, depressed.
Give me a time that you were low or depressed.
Today.
Why? It's okay.
My daughter is dying, she's terminal.
Do you feel blessed?
Oh, yeah. My daughter's taught me a lot in her illness, and I'm blessed because of everybody here that pray for me, they reach out to me. They keep me going.
Do you
Russell,
feel- oh, go ahead.
Are you, I've heard bankrupt in spirit. In other words, totally bankrupt or just
You have nothing left to
nothing,
give.
yeah, down, yeah.
In terms of wealth, you have nothing left. Do you think that people outside the church, when someone's dying, feel blessed? No. Why? When someone close to them is dying,
It's the end.
it's the end. It means it's all gone for them.
They also think that, God is so good, why would he allow that? Especially if there's a tragic death.
Absolutely. But I have a God that sacrifices his son so that trillions can see him in the end. One whom, through terrible events, blessings come. And I can tell you, I don't want to go into it. Thank you. I really appreciate that, by the way. That's church. That's church. Tears, that's church. Rejoicing, that's church. Giving a churchy response is not church. Being real, what makes you poor in spirit? And then how are you blessed through that? And if you can't see a blessing, maybe the church isn't there for you to be blessed. It comes from God. You can't be the person I talked about that prayed, that they did the fasting a couple weeks ago. I talked about that. That individual lost their daughter in a fire. And they and their husband at the funeral walked into that church singing hymns to God for the grace that he had given their daughter to see his face before theirs. That's blessed. They are stripped of everything they have. Human inside of them. Sorry about that. It's human inside of them. It's stripped. It's gone. They have nothing. The only thing that can fill them is God. The only thing that can make them happy is God. The only thing that can make them feel like they've been given gifts is God. The only thing that makes them fulfilled is the Spirit of God. If you think that poor in spirit can be filled by wealth, friends, by anything else, I can point you to countless stories of people in the news who had everything and gave it all up to end their life because they had nothing in here. And yet we have a hope that gives us that blessing. A hope that we shed in tears that says, take this cup from me. And yet, Allah, the word is a Greek word meaning but. It is opposed to the sentence that comes before it. I don't want this, take this from me, but your will be done. Not mine.
You know, Russell, I hate to keep speaking of it, but one term I've often heard is when a person reaches the bottom. You know, he hits the bottom. And that's when he really, truly is seeking God, and he realizes that he's just reached the bottom of his life. And I've heard that phrase many times. You know, bankrupt, and he reaches the bottom and calls out to the Lord.
I have the person who just called me, actually. They're on my favorites list, that's why I came through. That individual has been through some rough stuff. I'm not going to share their life, but I will say that last year their fiance that they finally got engaged to after knowing them for 20 years, they got engaged in June, and she passed away from muscular dystrophy in October. 20 years ago, he would have ended himself. 10 years ago, he would have ended himself. But he is far more mature now and has people like myself that can encourage him and love him. And her family who has prayed for him, even her father, whose wife didn't approve of him, and her daughter. That's why it took so long for them to get engaged. When her mother passed, then their dad was like, okay, it's great, you know. And here he is. He gets engaged and he loses his wife, or potential wife. It could have devastated him. He was stripped of everything in his heart to finally have the thing that he wanted for so long. And yet, the people of faith around him blessed him, built him up because of what Jesus has done for us. We pass it on. You're poor in spirit, you pass that on of the blessing that you have through it. Everybody heard that, I hope. That becomes a blessing. Now, hopefully, if you had a barrier of sharing something that's that devastating, I hope it starts to melt. Because church isn't about barriers and shiny exteriors and whitewashed tombs that are full of dead men's bones. It's full of broken people who hurt, who have sadness, who have been destitute in spirit, and yet come here with all of that brokenness. And we're supposed to hold that with them and say, I'm here to help you support that. I'm here to help you through that. That's the church. That's the church. That's what Jesus is starting with here. That very thing. Every one of you in this room, I know, has been broken in spirit at some point. At some point. You know it for a fact. You've been destitute. And if you never have, you have lived a life that I don't think I would like to live. Because I got a testimony because of the brokenness. That I can share how I've been blessed. The next one's just like it. What's that word mean? What does it mean to mourn? Sadness?
Filled with grief.
Filled? I like that. The opposite of poor in spirit, you had destitute. Now you are filled with grief. Filled with grief. Why are you filled with grief? I have never lost someone that is extremely close to me.
You are blessed.
Yeah. I lost my mother's great aunt. So my great aunt when I was like 10. So I have memories of seeing her in the coffin. We were only allowed to go to the wake. We couldn't go to the funeral because we were kids, and I don't want to get into that. So I've never really lost anyone that's been that close. A family friend whom I was mentored by, a father in the spirit, I could say. I mourned him for a few days. And that's as close as I've ever had. I've never lost my mom. I still have her. I've never lost a sibling. My older brother has lost his younger sister before I was born. So he's been through that. I've never lost a dad. One has disappeared, and the other one actually died in 2001, but I only ever met him once. My physical father. I don't know what that means to mourn. I don't know what that means. And if you say, I'm mourning, I'm sad, I can honestly say to you, I don't know what you're going through. I don't. Do you know how many people I've told that to? And they've said, no one has ever said that to me. I've said, I don't know what you're going through. I have no idea. But I'm here for you. They say, everybody says they feel my pain. They understand. I don't. Why would I ever say that? I don't ever want to feel that way. I don't. And yet, the people who mourn are comforted. Those parents that walked into that funeral singing hymns, they felt comforted knowing where their daughter was. Comfort. Filled with grief and yet comforted. The hymn comes to mind of leaning on the everlasting arms, wrapped in it. As David says, I am in the shadow of your wings, that protection, the cleft of the rock, the storms outside, all of that grief and terror is there, and yet here I am in that safe place. We mourn, as Paul says, with those who mourn. Rejoice with those who rejoice. It's real and it happens. But someone's going to feel it differently than you do. Sometimes you don't know what they're going through. But sharing that, if you've had that, sharing that with someone and saying, I'm right here, and just listening, that can comfort them. The next one, gentle. Yeah, oh, yes, please.
I'd like to go back to the first one, poor in spirit. Going to church, growing up in a Christian home, going to church, every time the door was open kind of thing. And the older I got, I didn't feel worthy. It's like every altar call, I felt I had to go. I had to be up there, And to me, that was like I was poor in spirit. My spirit didn't grow until I read more, got into His Word, and understood. And therefore I could feel the Spirit. I could, that testing that you get, the discernment. And then with the next one, those who mourn, We lost our daughter at 39. She was going through birth. The baby made it, but she didn't. Yes, it's tough. It's been tough, but what I shared was, that came to my heart, what God placed on my heart was, He gave me such a beautiful gift that we took care of that gift while we had it. You know, and that's what pulls me through it all. You know, I mean, I'm so thankful for what He gave us and the time He gave us with Him.
You said something very poignant. I didn't feel worthy. Okay. Question. And again, this is, don't take it the wrong way. This is exemplary. Okay, just an example. Do you think that I know more about you personally in Scripture than you do? Think about that. Do you think I have fathomed God's mysteries more than you have? Do you think I've been able to ponder Greek words and Hebrew words and show how they apply, not only in the kingdom of heaven, but theologically to delve into these mysteries? Do you think I'm worthy? No. Do you think that I think that I'm better than anyone in here? No. This spirit is bankrupt. I owe him all. A little sermon I preached to myself this morning will probably come out later in a lesson, but it's not about me. Because if I sat there as a servant saying, woe is me, I owe you so much, He reaches out a hand to that poor in spirit person, bankrupt, grabs that hand and says, I love you. Serve me. And I get up, dust myself off. Not thinking about myself or the past. I move forward in Him. He makes me worthy because I'm not.
That's what I had to learn.
What is gentle? Do some people have the word meek?
Yeah.
Yes.
They're kind of synonyms, but different. What is someone that's gentle?
They're soft-spoken,
Kind.
loving, understanding.
Not judging.
Not judging.
I always thought, several people, well, few people knew my mom, and she had a very gentle spirit. You know, she always could find the good in a bad situation, and gave me great encouragement. And it has been passed on into my grandchildren and my daughter, her same gentle spirit, you know. So.
Who did you say?
Her mom.
Oh, your mom.
I didn't hear anyone say meek. What is meek?
Bashful.
Backward. That word, backward, in that application, I never heard until I lived in Ohio. They would say, they're so backward. And I was like, they're like normal people. They go out and they live their life. What do they mean backward? I had to sort of understand that that word means people who are like inward.
Yeah.
They're not extroverted. Yeah. I was like, what an odd way to say it. But you're saying meek people are backward, bashful,
They
what
don't
else?
speak it. They're not pushy.
Not pushy?
Opposite. Timid.
Timid?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the word.
Show empathy.
Showing empathy? Both of these words, gentle and meek, you're going to love this. The words in Greek here mean, think of the mightiest 10-foot giant covered in the strongest titanium armor there is. Okay, Goliath, strong and powerful swords and shields and metal, and yet bends down to pluck a single flower and hands it to a little girl with a smile and pats her on the head. That's gentle and meek. That is all this power, all of it right there on display and not used in the wrong way. Meek does not mean afraid. Jesus was meek, humble, and yet a power behind him so great he could devastate the world with a word. With a word, he creates light. He creates everything. And yet, with a word, can destroy it. But he doesn't. That's meek. That's gentle. That's going up to someone that you've wronged, and you say, I've wronged you. And they have all of these warships ready with their guns to blow you out of the water. And they say, I forgive you. That's meekness. That's the application of humility. That's being gentle. And those people, they'll inherit the earth. It's not about slamming people or destroying them. It's about showing them who Jesus is. Does Jesus slam and destroy certain people?
Yeah, he did.
Yes, he does. Who?
Well, in the temple, when he turned everything over,
What else did he do? He didn't just flip stuff over. What else did he do?
well, he run them on.
How?
By using his,
With a whip. And what did the whip do?
It hurts when it hits you.
Hurts. He hit people with it. He didn't just thrash the ground. He hit people. Why?
He was angry
Why was he angry?
because they were misusing the temple. They were using it for gain.
Misuse.
Yeah.
If I go on that stage and I preach a heresy, what should I expect?
Rotten apples.
Should I expect to be able to walk off that stage and sit down? Oh, I should expect every elder in that room to jump up and say, stop, stop, we're done.
Yeah. I would hope that they would.
Does that mean they're not gentle and meek?
No, that does not.
That means that they're using their force and their power correctly.
Yeah. And actually, any of us should do that too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you see someone in here berating someone else, say something. You know that, in my opinion, stupid phrase that came out years ago? I can't remember exactly what it was, but see something, say something. It was like, you see something suspicious, call the cops. You see a little kid hanging on the street corner looking around like this. Oh my gosh, I gotta call the cops. Okay? You see three guys walking together, you don't like, oh, call the cops. No. This is where, in the church, if you see something you don't like, say something. Hey, I don't appreciate how you talk to that person. And then they don't get offended. They say, oh, that's just, we were joking. And the other person says, yeah, we're just messing around. And you go, oh, okay. See, no big deal. No harm, no foul. People don't get all offended and cry about it because it's not a big deal. It's Christians reproofing Christians. I got reproofed several months ago. That's great. That's good. The elders are doing their job. That's wonderful. They can still be meek and do that. They're doing it the right way.
You know, the scripture that comes to mind with all of this, what you're saying, is Philippians 2:5-8. Your attitude should be the same as that of Christ Jesus, who being in the very nature God, did not consider himself equality with God, something to be grasped, but made himself nothing, taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient even unto death.
Yeah. Now, I love this next one, okay? We're going to end with this one. Blessed, happy, fulfilled are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. What does it mean to hunger?
Seek, long for.
Okay, so right now I'm longing for a pizza. What does it mean to hunger?
Crave it.
Crave!
Crave it.
What are you craving?
Yeah,
Tacos.
Okay, what does it mean to thirst?
hunger and thirst for righteousness. That's what
Yeah.
it
Oh,
is.
no, that's not what I said. What does it mean to hunger?
Oh, I mean,
Crave.
crave.
Crave. If I haven't eaten for 3 days, am I craving anything specific? What am I needing now? Food. I need food. And what does that food do for me?
Fills you.
Besides, fill this.
Nourish.
Nourish.
Satisfy, nourish, strengthen. Someone else said over here. What's that word?
Nourish.
Nourish. Okay? My body requires that food. Thirst. What does it mean to thirst?
Quench your thirst.
Quench your throat. Some of you may take, I take several of them, medications that make your mouth dry. So this is why this is here. So if I ever start to go like this, it's when I need it. I thirst because my mouth is dry and these little glands aren't doing it for me, okay? I need that to exist. You don't have water, you're going to die. Okay? To hunger and to thirst is to not just crave something, it is to look for the thing that sustains you. How did Jesus respond to the devil when he said, turn these stones to bread? What did Jesus say?
Man does not live by bread alone.
Man does not live by bread alone. Now, that thought process. I eat the bread, I drink the water, I'm sustained, my body continues circulation, all my muscles keep moving, okay, blood flows, mental function happens. I require those things at regular intervals to continue my existence. What does it mean to now hunger and thirst for righteousness? With that in mind.
To continue to seek righteousness, not to just, one-time thing.
What does that mean?
To
What does it
continue.
mean to seek righteousness, Joe?
Eagerly want.
What does that mean? Eagerly want what?
To be like Christ.
What does that mean? What does it mean to be like Christ? When we say righteousness, what is righteousness? What is that?
Pursuit of holiness.
What is holiness? You're using a synonym. What's holiness? Oh, hold on. Ed's got it. Was it?
Well, I've got a, it says, what does the word righteousness mean in the Bible? In its deeper spiritual meaning, righteousness is the quality of being right in the eyes of God, including character, conscience, conduct, and command.
Oh, gosh, that's right. Yeah. Mind, heart, soul, flesh are continually looking for the things that nourish you, that make you square with the house. Not because you can make yourself square with the house and even up the tally by doing it, but you do it as a response to your love for the one who gives it to you. I loved my mother, so when she said to do a thing, I would hopefully want to do it. I necessarily didn't do it for the right reasons. That's not hungering and thirsting. Man, I gotta go to church today. Man, the game's on at 12. Oh, if I don't talk to Ed at the door, I could probably get out here early. Right? Right? Oh, but I want to go to Applebee's. Shirley's there. Dang it. Oh, man.
Oh, we need to let that rest.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I spent a whole shower time thinking of that name. What was the name I used? Just for an example. That's this brain.
Yeah, but Applebee's has TVs, right?
Right. Yeah, well, there you go, yeah. It is a complete and total dedication and pursuit of filling yourself, I love that, your conduct, your thought, your focus, and what you do on what makes God pleased with you. And the answer to that is they will be filled or they will be satisfied. It's not just about doing the things. It's about hungering. You gotta have it. And not gotta have it like, oh man, I gotta have that pizza. I want that specific pizza. This is, I need it to live. I need it to exist. I need to be right with God because He says, you are to be holy as I am holy. I can't do that, but I sure can hunger and thirst for it. I can't be Jesus, but I can hunger and thirst to live like Him. That doesn't mean sitting in front of my Bible every day reading everything. That's taking all these verses that are stuck up in the folds of this old cranium and applying them. Every time I get angry, every time I'm sad, every time I desire something outside of His will, every time I desire something in His will. It is a total and complete dedication to that cause, being like Jesus.
Let me read this commentary real quick. Jesus said that God's kingdom is organized differently from worldly kingdoms. In the kingdom of heaven, wealth and power and authority are unimportant. Kingdom people seek different blessings and benefits, and they have different attitudes. That's
Right.
a copy of Jesus, not the world.
It's about, and you've heard it said here, your time, your talent, your treasure. Okay? The 3 T's, time, talent, treasure. Where are you dedicating those things? And then if you have your time and your talent has to go to work, what are you doing at work? I know a lot of you are retired. I'm not. I go to work. And if I'm not applying Jesus at work, and I'm saying words I ought not to, and I'm giving a bad example and getting frustrated at things all the time, you think that really makes me look like Jesus? I dedicate myself even during that time to be Jesus. And it's great when he comes up in conversation. So this week, homework. I want all of you, again, you don't have to, but go home, and I want you to go through the next 3 here, okay? 4, sorry. I want you to go through them. Think about them. Think about times, like we had this morning, a perfect example. Think about times in your life, or even now, that these apply. Be careful when you read them. Read it for what it says. Don't try to shimmy out of it. Read what it says. Like I talked about, what is hungry and thirsting? I'm getting churchy answers. It's not what he's saying. He's saying literally, what does it mean to hunger and thirst? And then apply it to righteousness. Think of it in terms of that. Every single one of these. Being persecuted because of me. Not, oh man, I had a nice car and everybody yelled at me for spending my money on a nice car. No, that's not that kind of persecution, okay? I want you to go home and think about those. You don't have to write them down or anything. Maybe have something in mind. When we come back next week and we can kind of, oh, next week's the thing. Valentine's. Okay, so you have 2 weeks to do this homework.
Oh, boy.
Those are my favorite words from a teacher. Oh, we're off for vacation. You got 2 weeks. That means I literally have 13 days to do nothing and 1 day to do it. That was good already. Oh gosh, you have no idea.
Oh, yes, I do.
Oh, well, I have a box for cardboard, corrugated cardboard, a box for board, you know, the regular thin board, like it comes with frozen packaging, and then I have a bag with all the, you know, cans and other recycling. What do you think is strewn about those 2 boxes and not sorted? All the stuff ended up kind of just winged over there and not actually put in the boxes. Yeah, that's procrastination. But yeah, go home. I want you to be thinking about those things. But prayer requests, and I want to mention Tyler. I know he kind of updated some of us that asked. He said his mother's doing really well. They really had to attack that brain tumor. Apparently it's gone. He's saying that she's doing really, really well. That she's getting out there. Oh, let me stop this for a second.